Costume designers are rarely recognized for their genius, but they really should be, and today's genius is Hilary Rosenfeld and her work on the movie Dirty Dancing, directed by Emile Ardolino. Set during the summer of 1963, the film follows Frances, called Baby, as she heads over to the Catskills resort to vacation with her family. She attends a staff party, and she's captivated by everyone's risque dancing, and here she meets dance instructor Jonny Castle. When Johnny's partner Penny can no longer perform, Baby steps in to help, and through rehearsals with Jonny, she gains confidence and broadens her understanding of the world beyond her sheltered upbringing. This story was inspired by screenwriter Eleanor Brigstein's Catskill Summer Memories. And even more interesting is that Hilary Rosenfeld's own parents met at the Catskills. In an interview, she shared, quote, "I always knew that world. I always knew the people. While I never been to the hotel, I always knew about it." But to further her understanding for the movie, Rosenfeld shared that she went on a road trip to the Catskills with Brigstein and director Ardolino. During their time there, she shared, quote, "We even took dancing lessons, a tango lesson or a cha-cha lesson. So I was aware of the movement that the costumes would have to undergo, that the characters should be all comfortable in their clothes." However, this wasn't the only thing she had to consider. This film had an incredibly low budget, and it was set in the 1960s, so she had to think about time period, she had to think about like the dancing and movement, and how to do all this on a very tight budget. In the end though, she made it through all the challenges, and she created some of the most iconic costumes that are still talked about to this day, with the most recognizable ones worn by Baby, played by Jennifer Grey. In the opening shot, we see Baby in the car with the rest of her family. She's the youngest of the family, studious in nature, a college girl thinking of going into the Peace Corps. When talking about Baby's character, Rosenfeld stated, "The inspiration was to keep Baby very traditional, well-bred, well-educated young woman who was not interested in being a pretty thing, but wanted to make a contribution. So her looks had to evolve in a realistic way without bringing in a ton of extra clothes. While her sister probably packed a trunk, Baby probably packed a backpack, and her mother probably added a dress so that she would be able to eat dinner in the dining room properly." Let's take a peek into what Baby actually did pack. In the opening scene, we see Baby with some like clam digger jean shorts paired with a button-up shirt with rolled sleeves. It's less formal, less form-fitting, and creates a good contrast between her and some of the older women and girls and guests that we see in the opening shots. Now let's get one thing right out of the way. This film is representing the 60s, but it was filmed in the 80s, and the 80s definitely do creep in. They creep in a lot of different ways, especially when it comes to the hair and Baby's hair. Now, this is something that Rosenfeld did fight back on, but she didn't always win the argument, and this is a good reminder that costumes are not finalized by the costume designer. There are a lot of different voices and opinions that go into final costumes that we see in a film. She did try to persuade production on keeping it more 60s, but it didn't always go her way. And she shared, quote, "When I lost that battle, I was really conscious of making sure that everyone else surrounding her, meaning Baby, had looks that were more period. When Baby changes for dinner, she wears a pastel striped dress with a loose blue cardigan and flats. These costume choices position her as youthful and unassuming, in contrast to the more bold and sexually confident women at the staff party. The soft pastel palette mirrors that of the hotel guests as well, and the light tones emphasize Baby's innocence and optimism, key traits that define her character the beginning of the film." And she does carry this color palette in some incredible ensembles throughout the film. I like that she also channels a sort of Jean Seberg style with some of her striped shirts. And as the film progresses, Baby's wardrobe evolves alongside her character. Her character's outfit in the Loverboy scene is a strong example of this transformation. While the individual pieces are similar to those that she wears at the beginning of the film, the styling is more fitted and deliberate, highlighting her figure and reflecting her growing confidence and self-assurance. And then we have the finale, the iconic dance dress. We have the music start, and Jonny takes her in his arms, and she starts to move, and that dress twirls. And I think every woman's been looking for a dress that twirls like that ever since. It is beautiful. And when asked about the dress's success, Rosenfeld shared, "I think people want the dress because it was perfect for the moment. It's not that it was the prettiest dress ever. The movement, the peach color, it was fresh and demure but sexy at the same time. It fit her perfectly. And it was just the right dress at the right time. And that's the difference between costume and fashion." And I think that sums it up perfectly. Now, on to bad boy dance instructor Johnny Castle, played by Patrick Swayze. Patrick Swayze was the perfect person for this role. We get the sense of who Johnny is right from the beginning when he strides into a staff meeting wearing sunglasses, a tight gray shirt, and a motorcycle jacket draped over one shoulder. Immediately, we understand that there is a difference between him and the preppy waiters. Fun fact, the jacket that he wears, that motorcycle jacket, actually belonged to a local production assistant working on the film named Adam. And when asked about the jacket, Rosenfeld shared, quote, "It was sort of worn in, and I thought that maybe you could add it. Patrick loved it, and he wore the jacket throughout the whole film. We also used Adam's car, which was a badly restored police car." So, way to go, Adam, for just being incredibly iconic in real life. Now, Johnny's not very wealthy, so we can assume that he packed pretty light with just his work dance clothes and a couple casual pieces. He usually sticks with all black, which contrasts with Baby's lighter palette and gives him a more brooding bad boy look that easily doubles as professional dance clothes. Throughout most of the film, he's in tight tank tops and t-shirts that are great because they show off his dancing moves, and you can see, even in the behind the scenes, Kenny Ortega, the choreographer for this film, wears like almost pretty much the same uniform that Johnny does in the film for choreography. So, very realistic, I guess. In one scene, he's dancing with Penny at the hotel's ballroom, and he's wearing a black formal dancing suit. Rosenfeld shared, quote, "Patrick always wanted his body to show, so I compromised a little on the period and gave him short jackets instead of longer ones that would obscure his hips and movement." And it certainly does a trick. Whenever Johnny dances, you can see his moves perfectly. When they both head to the staff party afterwards, I like that Johnny abandons his bow tie and suit jacket and instead decides to just wear his shirt unbuttoned. It marks the difference between the stiff formality of the hotel's dance floor and the free energy of the staff party. Now, remember that low budget that I mentioned at the beginning? Well, it turns out that a majority of that went over to Patrick Swayze's shoes because he liked to get them made at this certain place in LA. And because he's basically dancing through this entire film, Rosenfeld decided that it was a good idea to invest in the shoes. However, this did mean that Penny's looks took a budget hit and not many could be built for her. But I still think that she has some great dresses throughout the film, showing more confident, bold reds and pinks that contrast really well with Baby's more pastels and blushes. And my favorite of hers is a leotard that she uses when practicing. Again, this is where the 80s creep in. There were leotards starting to be kind of developed in the 60s, but they didn't look like this. This is very much 80s. Anyways, I enjoy the look. And Penny isn't the only one to add contrast to Baby. We have her sister Lisa, who is more preppy and put together, worried about what I'm sure she's been trained to worry about, which is her looks and presentation. On her character, Rosenfeld shared, quote, "Her sister Lisa was a traditional girl and came with a trunk load of clothes, and they probably shipped the clothes ahead because, of course, it was a place that parents took their daughters of a certain age to marry them off to the right people." So between Penny and Lisa is where Baby fits right in. And it's incredible that you can see that just through costuming and just through clothes. Now, there are a bunch of hilarious, surprising, wild things about what happened behind the scenes in the production of this film. I definitely recommend exploring it because it is crazy. On the costume side of things, I hope that you enjoy this breakdown. If there's a film that you want me to analyze, please leave it down below. I will add it to my running list. Like and subscribe to keep the momentum of this channel going, and thank you so much for your kind words. I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.